Hey everyone, welcome back to the Untrivial Podcast. My name is Allie Nelson. Happy March. I hope you guys are all having a great week. If you're following along on Instagram, you will also see that this week is a very special week for me. This week also marks the Untrivial Podcast's very first birthday. I launched my very first episode at the end of February in 2024, and now here we are, a whole year later. I can't believe it. It feels so cool to say that and to also know that I am still here and I'm still so excited to be doing this and making the time even amidst grad school and my first year of motherhood. And I'm just feeling really happy, proud, and excited. So yeah, if you're following along on Instagram, you will see that I am hosting a little giveaway this week to celebrate 1 year of Untrivial. So the instructions are on Instagram. So if you're not following now, it's the perfect time. It's at Untrivial Podcast. And there you can enter and see all the details of how to win. But basically, you could win one of two prize packs. The first prize option is an Untrivial book bundle. So, a whole collection of books from authors we've had on the show and some of my favorites. And the second prize option is a Untrivial Pillars bundle. So, little goodies and prizes from each of our three pillars. So, something from our psychology and relationships pillar, something from the wellness pillar, and something from the society and culture pillar. You're probably wondering, like, how do you make a prize related to those things? And let me tell you. The Untrivial Pillar prizes are a deck of the cards We're Not Really Strangers, so really aimed at deepening your relationships with your spouse or friends, some sage wellness oils and natural remedies, one of the Untrivial books of your choice. You can pick any of the ones from the book bundle, but you will get one. And then finally, a really nice journal. And so, yeah, those are the two prize options. Please feel free to enter. The contest will be opened until next Friday, March 14th. So go take a look, tag your friends, and I hope you win. We're 32 episodes later. I've had so many incredible guests who are authors, psychotherapists, thought leaders, influencers, but most importantly, people who I really, really admire and who I think have really, really incredible messages to share with the world and with you all. I feel so honored that the guests I have had on the show decided to come on and trust me with amplifying their insights and their expertise. And, also so honored that you are all here listening. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you've listened to one episode or all 32, or if this is your very first time hearing my voice, I am just so glad you're here. This show really brings me so much fulfillment, and I just hope to continue to be a microphone to all these wonderful guests who I hope enrich your lives as much as they do mine, and also a place where we can all connect and learn together and grow together through this incredible dialogue. I also shared this week that over the weekend I attended an event. It was a conversation with Brianna Wiest, who is an amazing author. If you've heard of her books like The Pivot Year, The Mountain Is You, you should absolutely look her up. I am a huge fan. But I feel like that event came at such a perfect time for me. Birthdays and anniversaries are sort of like these natural reflection points, and being able to hear her say things like, if you can't find something that you want in the world, that's your sign to create it, amongst so many other encouraging and inspiring messages, just really reaffirmed me in this passion project and in this pursuit. And even though some days are challenging and sometimes I wonder if, it is as impactful or has the potential that I think it does, I think just being reminded to keep showing up and to do the scary thing was just such great timing. She also reshared my post to her stories, and as a super fan, I almost passed away. I was so excited. So yes, definitely check her out. And just like her, my guests today are true examples of what can happen if you just put yourself out there and really go for it. They also represent an untrivial first because we have not one, but two guests today, Christine and Sarah MacLean. Christine and Sarah are the incredible sister duo behind the extremely successful travel account, Wellness Traveled. This is where they share idyllic experiences everywhere from treetop hotels in Costa Rica to hidden gem B&Bs just outside of the Greater Toronto area. As content creators and social media experts, Sarah and Christine share what the life of a travel content creator is all about. Today, we discuss how they started and grew Wellness Traveled from a passion project to a thriving business and Instagram account with over 500,000 followers. They share what it's like working with your sister and taking the leap to become a creator full time. We also talk about how they work with travel clients, shoot their videos, whether or not it's as glamorous as it seems, advice on how to get into the space, and so much more. Christine and Sarah are actually dear friends of mine from the cottage. My husband grew up with them over their summers up north, so I've gotten to know them over the last few years that I have been going up there, and I was just so excited when they said yes to come on the show. They are such a wealth of information. Their journey is so inspiring. I feel like I learned so much about the behind the scenes of content creation and just their passion for the space, and so I hope you guys enjoy listening as much as I did. Lastly, if you enjoy this episode or any of the other episodes you may have listened to, please feel free to give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Share with a friend. It really helps me grow the show, but thank you so much for being here. And now, let's get into the episode. Sarah and Christine MacLean, welcome to Untrivial. How are you doing today?
We're good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'm so excited to talk to you both about traveling, content creation, wellness travel. Like, you two have such an amazing presence online and live such interesting and cool lives doing what you do that I'm just so excited to get into how it all began and what your life looks like today. So I'd love to start with just a little bit of background of who you two are and like how you both started your careers in travel and content creation. Because were you always a part of travel, or like what did that look like for you both?
Yeah, so I actually started out as a travel agent out of university and worked for Flight Center for many years. And then once I started doing that for a few years, I worked for their independent program. So I started my own business through Flight Center and was doing that for a couple of years up until COVID.
Amazing. And how about you, Christine?
Yeah, I have to add too that the story behind Sarah becoming a travel agent happened to be because my roommate at the time was a travel agent and she was traveling all over. And I told Sarah, I think I found the dream job for you. So she actually got in touch with my roommate, and that sort of started the whole journey there. On my end, I worked in advertising right out of university as an art director at some great ad agencies in downtown Toronto. And then just after feeling like there was something lacking in my life and just wanting to delve more into the wellness side of things, I decided to get out of the industry and got a job at Sickets Foundation in downtown Toronto. And I was actually a content creator for them in-house for over 7 years. And it was an extremely rewarding job, getting to be creative for a living and helping to garner more donations for a really incredible cause.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So you both have background in such different ways. Like Sarah, you have the travel side of the background in what you do today. And Christine, you have that content creation side. That's so cool. How did Wellness Traveled start?
So I guess because of my job being a travel agent, I was getting a lot of opportunities to travel within my work, and they would often let us bring like a +1 with us. And so Christine was often coming along with me on all my journeys, and we like loved traveling together. And I guess we just started like taking photos on all of our trips. This was back in like 2017 when Wellness Traveled really began. And it just became a place for us to share all of our little trips that we were doing together. And it was a lot of like international travel at the time, and just as a passion for sharing amazing places around the world.
And we can't discredit all of the amazing people who told us to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
This was back when the idea of a travel influencer was becoming a thing on Instagram. And because we had just been sharing our travels organically anyways, a couple of people had said, oh, you guys could easily do the same thing. So we took on that challenge and wrote up a little business plan while we were up at the cottage one day, and came up with the idea Wellness Traveled over a little brainstorm, because we love wellness to get away from the craziness of everyday life. So using travel to reset. And then and it all just kind of came together organically. But where we are today, it's definitely not what we expected when we first started this.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, when you started posting, and it sounds like it was originally and initially just for fun, did you have it in mind that you were hoping to make a full-time career out of it or seeing that in the future? Or was it just kind of like, oh, we're going to post this for friends and see what happens?
I think it was a bit of the, because everyone was posting on Instagram anyways, but maybe that, oh, maybe one day we could get a free trip or a free tour. It was more around that. We didn't think that there was a huge way to monetize at the time, turn it into a full-time job. Definitely not on the radar.
It was just like a passion for us to share the places
Yeah.
that we were going. It was just like a simple idea. It wasn't what it is now.
Yeah. And I think even just Instagram over this time span that you've been doing it and social media over this time span has evolved so much. Like it would have been so hard to predict how big influencing and content creation and, creating interesting media for people to consume was going to be. So that's so cool. Sarah, when you were in your travel role, were you making connections with hotels and excursions? Like, did you start talking to them about your personal endeavors with wellness traveled, or did you kind of separate it out from your role with the travel company?
So we were constantly doing trainings with different tour operators, attending fam trips with different airlines and destinations. But no, I kind of kept them both very separate. So all those connections were just through my travel planning days. And then, of course, like having all that knowledge going into starting Wellness Traveled was amazing. But in terms of the connections, it was very separate.
I think when Sarah and I first started reaching out to partners, one of the things that we did mention, though, was that Sarah was a travel agent. So
Yeah.
the hotel partners saw that as an extra value add, that we would be coming in as content creators and sharing it on our space. But then Sarah has the ability to go and book it after. And I'd love
Yeah.
to use our Belize trip as a reference. We went to Belize, I believe, back in 2018, maybe 2019. I can't quite remember, but we posted about that trip. We did get some hosted stays while we were there. And Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you booked about 10 or 15 Belize trips for your clients after that.
Oh my gosh.
It's true, because we would share about that journey, and then people would be like, yep, I just want to book exactly what you did on Wellness Traveled. So it was a nice synergy for a few years when I was doing both, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like even just like the travel industry has evolved so much, because what it used to be was like maybe you'd have magazines or word of mouth, but there wasn't kind of the in-depth level of video and all the things you can see in terms of the hotels, like in-depth tours and the water and all of that stuff that you get, like such rich insight now into what a trip could look like if you went on it from that content creator space that is so different and so much more than what you could get back in the day when we were just kind of trusting the magazines and you kind of really had to go to be able to see what it would really look like.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to talk about your evolution from doing this kind of as a fun thing in the beginning to now you are both full-time content creators doing Wellness Travel. It's like, how did that evolution begin and where are you at today?
So for me, I was a full-time travel agent until the pandemic hit. And then it just kind of forced me to pivot because nobody was booking travel during that time period. So for me, it was like a natural pivot into just taking my passion of wellness travel and making it more my full-time job. And yeah, so that's kind of like what shifted for me in my timeline.
Absolutely. My situation was slightly different from Sarah's. During the pandemic, I was still working for Sick Kids Foundation, and we were working from home. So I was able to work in different locations, which made it easier for Sarah and I to stay connected on this, even while I was working full time. And we were able to continue on with the business, and it excitingly grew a lot during the pandemic. There's a bit of irony in that, but what happened was we stopped traveling internationally and decided to pivot to local travel. As a result, so many Ontario people started following us to see interesting things that they could do during the pandemic. And we built up this really engaged Ontario community, which expanded out to a Canadian community. And we became this place to find unique things to do during that time.
During the pandemic, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a bit of a head scratcher, but going from, fun resorts to cool local Airbnbs actually helped us immensely in the long run and helped to get us where we are today. And the reason why is because from a brand perspective, the audience is just as important, if not more important, than your follower count. And they love to see an engaged community. And so we did get a lot of requests for Ontario brands or brands that were looking to engage that Ontario community during the pandemic. So I found myself in a place where I was juggling 2 full-time jobs. I was working at Sick Kids full-time, and then all of my holidays, every single holiday, like no joke, was used to work on wellness travel. My nights and my weekends became very jam-packed, and it wasn't sustainable or balanced anymore. So I did make a very hard decision because working for Sick Kids was an absolutely incredible job. But my gut instinct was telling me that I need to try something new and run a business with Sarah full time. So I quit back in January of 2023 and have been doing it full time ever since.
Wow. Okay. So you both even transitioned into full-time
different
content
time.
creation. Yeah, at different times. That's so cool. And I bet you it was kind of helpful, like Sarah, you kind of testing it out and you're probably
Yeah.
like, Christine, it's fine. We can do it. Like I've been doing it for a while
Yeah,
now.
take
And
the
then
leap with me. Yeah, come on.
The amount of times Sarah was texting me like, come on, girl, when we doing this?
yeah, well, it must be scary too. I think
Yeah.
anyone who's stepping out of a corporate or more consistent, quote unquote, full-time job to move into something that is more entrepreneurial, like that is scary. I guess, how did you feel ready to finally take that leap, Christine? And like, how were friends and family with that decision? Were they supportive of you guys? Were they nervous for you too?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the moment I knew I was ready was when I was making a very similar income to what I was making at my full-time job. And so I knew from a financial standpoint, have a mortgage to pay and things like that. I needed to feel financially secure. And based on the year that we had, me working on it part-time and still getting some amazing results. So I knew that it was time. And it was a very calculated risk. At the end of the day, I didn't even really see it as a risk. I just saw this as a natural fit by the time I had made the decision. In terms of support, our friends and family are extremely supportive. But I will say when I did quit, I was in Florida. Our parents, have retired in Florida, and I was spending time there over the holidays. And I quit my first week back when I was working remotely, and my dad was there and had heard that that's what I was doing. And he told me to wait another 6 months and there could be a big recession coming, and being the very conservative, protective dad. And so it made me hesitate a couple days. And then I said, sorry, Dad, I'm going to do it anyways. And now he was always supportive of us, but always trying to give us helpful dad advice. And he's now our biggest supporter, and he's always so excited every time we tell him about every opportunity that we have. So I'm sure he, doesn't agree with that anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome. And to see, I bet you as parents, like to see both of your success as sisters, as entrepreneurs. Oh my gosh, that would be so freaking cool.
Yeah, family businesses are amazing.
I love that. So I'd love to peel back the layer a little bit just on travel influencing as a concept and content creation in the travel space as a mode of work and a job that you can have. I think a lot of people see it as consumers. Like I look at Instagram, I can see that people are traveling and filming it, but could you guys break down a little bit more of like, how does it work? Like, do hotels and companies reach out to you? Like, how do you decide who to partner with or where you go? Like, I'd love to just understand that side of the business.
Absolutely.
It's a bit of both, because we're in a very fortunate situation where we do get a lot of requests from brands and tourism boards and hotels to work with them. But then on the flip side, we do a lot of pitching. So at the beginning of the year, we write almost like a dream list of places we would love to go to, brands we would love to work with. And we have an amazing brand manager, Kristen. She's like our talent manager. So she helps us behind the scenes with a lot of our proactive pitching. And we set goals of like when we want to, send all of those pitches out and like timings and things like that. So it's a bit of both, where we get reached out to a lot, and we're very fortunate for that. But then we also like to do our own pitching as well to some of the dream places we'd like to visit and hotels we want to stay at and friends we want to work with.
That is super cool. I think being able to have both options too is so amazing. And so the other part I want to ask about is those brands that you want to work with. Because I think, based on your page, sustainability is such an important piece to you guys, and that wellness aspect, and making sure you're partnering with organizations and companies that sort of value that side of travel and consumerism. So if you guys could speak a little bit to why that matters to you, how you integrate that into your wellness business, and what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that's been ever evolving. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind when you are creating a brand or a page is to always try to stay authentic to yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, a lot of the brands that reach out, or even the tourism boards, for example, not-for-profits, there always seems to be such an alignment from almost every partner or email that reaches out to us. Because I think that a lot of people understand that if you're going to be working with someone in this capacity, if it's not authentic and this isn't something that they're already just naturally talking about, then it probably won't come across in an authentic way and convert and create good impressions. And so we've been extremely fortunate where a lot of the times when we do get requests, it's from partners that we think is already going to just be so easy to align with our page and with our audience. Over the years, we've definitely evolved what we like to talk about on our page and have come down to, we like to say 3 pillars, but it could even be 4. So the first pillar would definitely be in the wellness space. So you'll see a lot of spas on our page or hotels, resorts that align with that. But I think wellness is more than just going to a spa. It could be going out and going for a nice hike, for example, awesome places to take your dog. So we're not trying to
get out into nature. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not trying to just be wellness in that one capacity. Sustainability is also really important to us. And that just ties back to, was always the nerd who didn't want to use paper towel, always trying to recycle and compost and use natural products. My wellness journey started a long time ago when it came to having really, really bad acne and trying to discover why this is happening. And the wellness side of it definitely also tied into the sustainability side, just from at a home side of it. When we started traveling more, just like quick backstory, we didn't travel a lot growing up. We didn't do this until we started having our own jobs and could pay for our own travels. So once we saw the potential negative impacts of travel, we decided that we just wanted to be a little bit more mindful and not necessarily just showing so much international travel on our page all the time, and also looking for partners that have sustainability in mind, whether it's like a hotel or a tourism board. They're always trying to find opportunities for us that fit under that. I want to say a pillar, but it's really just something that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we've been able to string through for many years now, which has been fantastic. And then I think the third thing is the nature, getting outside. We grew up camping and cottaging and just love being out in nature and love being out in Ontario. It's such a beautiful province, especially in the summertime. So we just love to share that passion as well. And just tying back to how this all comes out on social media, we're just always trying to keep whatever it is that we're just generally excited and passionate about coming out onto our page so that it feels real and authentic and not just like we're trying to sell something every day. We don't want people to ever feel like that on our page.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like with your page, I'm a follower of Wellness Travels, of course. And it just does look like this real experience of like what you could expect if you were at this spa or in this cool place in Ontario and all these cool things to do. And I think it's fun because not only is it just beautiful to watch and look at, but it's also inspirational. It's something that I can say, hey, like I want to go here with my husband or my girlfriends, and then do it, and then be able to kind of be shown these really niche locations, or maybe something you just haven't heard of or not a lot of people have been to,
and uncover like all these cool hidden gems that are actually super close by. I think people don't realize how big Ontario is, but it's still pretty accessible, like a lot of it. Like you can get to a lot of these places in like 2-3 hours, which is not bad. And I think you absolutely are right. Like in the pandemic, everyone's like itching to do something and get outside. And that was so great then. But even now, like travel's expensive. And sometimes you just want to do something that's a bit more local and a little bit more affordable than like a big overseas trip. And I love the mix on your page of both like these really cool, like, like my once a year or every couple year trip I could do. And if I have a free weekend in the summer, I can go to this really cool place in Kingston, for example.
I'm glad that that's what you get from it, because that's definitely what we're going for.
Yeah, good. No, it's working. Got to show the balance. I love it. Back to the business bit a little bit more. So in terms of if you were to go, say, to B&B or like a spa, what sorts of outputs are you ensuring that the business gets? Like on a business side, it's like, hey, we're going to come. What are you providing to them?
That's a great question. And it's something that we ask every partner at the onset to understand what their business objectives are. And in terms of the output, it really depends. It's a client to client basis, but most people hire us for social media marketing support, which often includes Reels, Instagram stories. But we also have a lot of support platforms. And I think that this really adds a lot of value for our clients, where we can also add their content to our TikTok page, our Pinterest, and as well YouTube Shorts. We also offer photography services. So a lot of Airbnbs, for example, might also request images that they can use on their website or their social media. We get that request from tourism boards a lot as well. And we also do vertical videos, which is a really fun one for us, where we can just go in and create really beautiful clips that they can go and use on their own social platforms. So it's creating content to put on our page, but also potentially creating content to put on their assets as well. And then we also have a blog, because we're not busy enough. So
a lot going on.
Let's have a blog too. But we've been working on the blog since the very beginning. And this is always a great value add, where we can offer backlinks to our partners. It's a really popular choice for tourism boards, because it's a great way when you're visiting so many of their partners. So you might visit 9 restaurants during a stay and 2 hotels, for example. So all of them will be listed on the blog. And it's just a great way for people to go and have a place to click through to book or, make a reservation. So yeah, it's a lot, but we have a good process involved to make sure that we can flow everything out really nicely when clients want to use everything.
And I would add that every single client wants a different type of package from us. So we kind of just list everything that they can have, and then usually the end result, every package is a little bit different for every client based on what their needs are or their marketing wants are. So cool. Vertical video. Is that like drone footage? Is that what that is? Or what is vertical video? That would just be, honestly, usually something that we would take with our iPhone or a drone, or Insta360 or something video related, shot in the format for Instagram and TikTok, which is vertical. If they were looking for something like for YouTube, it would be horizontal. But yeah, usually we get the requests for Instagram and TikTok, which would be vertical. Very cool. And who is filming? Like sometimes there's shots of both of you enjoying this amazing place. Sometimes it's one of you. Like who is filming all this? I mean, 99% it's just the 2 of us and our tripod. And then sometimes we shoot with other content creators too and other photographers. So yeah, it's a bit of both, but mainly 99% it's just Christine and I and our tripod getting the shots. And if you see just one of us, it's the other one's shooting the other. And if you see 2 of us, it's usually a tripod or a friend shooting it. It's so cool. Yeah. And I think that's so helpful to know, because I think some people think, oh my God, you have to have a team, or, I need someone around to film all this stuff if I were to ever do this. But you can do it with just your tripod or just the 2 of you. And I think that's all you need is a phone. No, that's so cool. What other type of equipment do you use? Or is it mainly you're using iPhones, or do you have like a camera that you have on top of that? Like what equipment is there? Yeah. So we do have a camera and we have a couple lenses that we like to use on it. We have the drone that shoots in vertical. Oh, there's the camera.
It just happened to be on my desk because I was taking some shots off of it from a recent shoot. But yeah, that's a popular one.
I mean, 90% of our work is all shot on iPhone. You can shoot 4K 60. You can shoot really good quality content on your iPhone. So for what we're doing, the type of work we're doing, it's like the number one tool. We always like to upgrade to the newest one. So every other year, one of us will upgrade. But then we have supporting technology like our drone, our camera, our Insta360, our GoPro, and that's basically our gear kit.
That's awesome. How much of your time when you're on a trip is spent filming and doing the content creation versus like chilling by the beach or actually kind of relaxing and sitting into it?
That's a great question.
Yeah, what comes to mind to me is usually our work trips when we're shooting for a tourism board, let's say, our itinerary is like fully booked from morning till night till sunset. And so we're usually running, gutting to multiple locations throughout the day and we're shooting all of those experiences, but we're also experiencing those experiences as well while they're happening. So let's just say we're scuba diving, like we're under there filming the experience, but we're also doing it as well. So there is a bit of balance there, but you're constantly like shooting, which that's like our work. So there is a lot of shooting on the days that we're working, but we like to experience all the experiences that we're doing too.
When we're going to restaurants, we're actually eating the food and not baking it. Like, I mean, you know, it's all happening in real time. Just the caveat is that you're capturing the content and we're also in work mode. So if, you know, people who have seen us filming before, they pick up on certain things, like you have your own language and all these little tools and tricks that you do. And we go out and we scope a location. We find great angles,
good lighting,
and just, yeah, exactly. So there's just a lot of technical details that go on behind the scenes that of course means you're not just at the spa 100% of the time, just, you know, sitting in the sauna and the steam room and whatnot. But we always try to incorporate the actual experience and do it so we can speak to it authentically. And all of our partners understand the importance of that. So they always leave time and gaps in between so that it's not just a really quick shoot. And when we're talking about a Thai massage, that we've actually done it, so we're not just winging it. I think that's a really important distinction when you are a content creator going out on these types of trips, is that if you're not experiencing it, then you're not able to communicate it in an authentic way. And most people who have ever worked with us understand that and bake it into the schedule.
Yeah, we always need a little bit of extra time for every activity.
For sure. What are some myths maybe about content creation or travel content creation that you might want to dispel? Or is it truly as glamorous as it seems? Because I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, that is the freaking dream. Is it that reality? Or are there some days where you're like, oh, it was a really tough day, or oh, I really don't want to go and do this thing, but we agreed that we would? Like, what does that feel like for you guys?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we are just so grateful for in this business is that we do get to go on these opportunities that are not normal and so therefore appear very glamorous. And in a lot of instances,
we're very grateful for those opportunities.
Yeah, we understand that this is not your normal 9-to-5 job, and every day is very different for us. And in that sense, it is very glamorous because we just get to be out at different locations, locally, internationally, try new products. It is a really, really incredible job, and there is a very glamorous side to it. But on the other side of it, we are running a business. So are there days where maybe we're sick, but we still go out to the shoot because there's no other opportunity to do it? Have we ever felt run down? Absolutely. Are there days where it's raining and we're just sitting around waiting and praying for the sun to come out so we can get our shot? Absolutely. Our job is very weather dependent. So we can either get the perfect weather day or the worst weather day. And when it is rainy out or we're not getting the snow or what have you, it is, it can be a harder day for us. So yeah, it's definitely a different experience every single day, but it is a job. So I think that in terms of like, is it the myth behind it is that this is 100% just like our lifestyle every day, that we are just out traveling. And it is in the sense that we're doing these things, but it's as a job. And so there's just that level of, you know, pressure to perform at the same time, to make sure
Yeah.
that the client is happy, we're getting the best shots and we're getting the results that they want.
And lots of hours that go into setting up that job and getting to that trip. So it starts with pitching, or it starts with them coming to us and then us like going through all of their marketing needs and the contract and deliverables, like sometimes hundreds of emails before we even get on that plane and start that journey. And we're very grateful for all the opportunities, but it's so funny what Christine was saying is that sometimes like things go very wrong. Like we'll like our car will break down, or we're like up at 3 a.m. to catch a sunrise and we could barely see, or our eyes are all puffy. And one time we were in this like super glamorous destination shooting for like a dream client, a dream hotel and a dream airline. And we were doing this like really cool shot in the pool, and I was floating and Christine was taking a drone shot, and I woke up the next day with like the worst sinus infection of my life. I was like so sick, and like luckily we were leaving that day, but yeah, it's, you never know what to expect when you're traveling in general. And then you add the extra pressure of it being your job and your work and needing really good output in videos from the shoots and everything. And yeah, there's just a whole other side to it that we should show more of on our channel, like the BTS.
That I know we definitely need to do more of that. We can like link one of our funny BTSs of one of our shoots back in December. But I just wanted to add too that Sarah and I will say can be very perfectionistic too.
Yeah.
So we never want to stop shooting until we get the shot, or if we're not happy with it. So yeah, it's all, when you're shooting travel space, you do want to get the best output because it is all about showing the space in the most beautiful light possible. So yeah, that's what we're always there to do. And sometimes the weather works and sometimes it doesn't.
I love it. What's it like working for yourselves, but also working with family? Like you guys are sisters and you work together, is my first question. And then second, would you ever go back to working for someone else?
Well, I don't know if Sarah feels the same way, but for me, I love working with Sarah and the idea of working with family. I think that there's just this layer of trust that we have when you're sisters. I feel like I can trust Sarah to the ends of the earth. And I feel like that's such an important part to have in a business partner.
Yeah.
And we can also be very direct with each other because we're sisters. So sometimes, it's nice to have a bit of a barrier. Like if we were working with, like going back to, my sick kids days, some of the interactions with Sarah and I are just very different than, if you're working in like a corporate setting. But sometimes it's just easier. Like we just have such a shorthand for each other. And I would just say the only downside is sometimes we're just so focused on business. It just takes away from us being sisters sometimes. But it's something we recognize and do want to work in. And we always try to work in personal conversations and things about what's going on in our life, like our dogs and our friends and weddings and all those things. But sometimes we just generally forget to talk about those things, and everything is work related, or we're texting each other at 8 a.m. about work. I'm like, wait a second, like, let's just take a breather here. So I think when it's family, you don't have those barriers. But overall, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think our business wouldn't be what it is if we weren't sisters.
I love that. How about you, Sarah?
Yeah, it's fun working with your sister and like building something together and like seeing what we've done in the last few years. I'm very proud of both of us. And while it's really awesome working with your sister, sometimes we have some not so great days, but we always like true sisters do. We'll like fight, and then like 1 hour later we'll be like, oh, what were we fighting about? What was that all about? And then we're totally good and on to the next thing. So we're really good at just like putting things behind us and like leaving them there and moving forward. And I think that's like a very unique thing to a sister relationship that might be a bit different than working with a business partner.
Yeah, it's so funny because you just made me think too, because every time we talk to other sisters that find out we're a sister business, they can totally relate to that. Oh, we just know what it must be like working together. It's like, so it'd be different than like brothers or like, like our parents or even it's so unique. And I know whenever, we talk to people about it, that have that sister relationship, they can definitely relate. And then it's interesting too, because there's so many couples that do this as well. So we talk to couples about it and we're like, okay, like, what's your relationship like? And they do have the same struggles, but they go home to the same house together. Sarah and I go home to our separate houses and we have like a nice separation. But I imagine doing it as a couple, they have their own set of challenges working together every day and then going home into the same house together. So
because we're both very creative people, Christine and I. And so the biggest thing for us is sometimes we just run into creative differences. And we're constantly outputting videos and stories and things like that. So there's just days where we just don't align and we have those tough conversations, but we're really good at just like, okay, we deal with it, we talk about it, and then we like leave it there.
Yeah. No, it's so true.
Yeah.
I have a sister as well, so I completely understand.
Yeah,
you get it. Okay.
I'm just like, explosion, and now it's fine.
Explosion. Okay,
cool.
wait, what was that about? Okay.
Yeah, no, but it would be so impossible to have lines of like personal and work not be blurred when you're sisters. And I think like what you mentioned too, you can be so honest with each other and so direct with family that you're not encountering any of that like corporate politeness that you need to in certain contexts. You can just be like, no, I don't like that.
Maybe we should incorporate some of that though, Christine. I don't know.
Maybe a 50-50 split, because it's so funny. I talk about the corporate lifestyle and just how nice it is to not have to be so politically, I don't know, it's just like, you know what I mean? You just always sort of like tiptoeing a little bit. And then that's one reason why, you know, we have that difference in our job, because it's just the two of us. And
it's very unfiltered.
It's definitely, but I agree. Maybe like we dial it back.
So would either of you go back to working for someone else if you, like, say you could do this full time forever, and hope you do, I love it.
Yeah.
Would you ever go back by choice to working for somebody else?
For me, personally, if I had the choice to be doing this forever, this is what I would be doing. I feel like we're very lucky. We're living our dream job, something that we like wake up excited to do, something that challenges us every single day, something that's different every single day, and something that we can grow and evolve and pivot and shift based on, you know, the algorithm constantly changing, or based on what we want to share next year, which might be different than this year. And so it's a very creative place that we're in. And so personally, I would love to keep doing this forever, but you never know what life is going to throw you. So, I mean, I wouldn't ever say never, but I'm really liking where we're at.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've been working in a corporate, or I was working in a corporate space a lot longer than Sarah even. And it just got to a point in my life where I used to have certain goals and aspirations. And as you get older, those goals and aspirations can change. And I realized there was certain aspects of being an entrepreneur and working for yourself that all of a sudden, that's what I wanted to get out of life. And so to me, I would always try to push or pivot or create a new job that we're in the sense where I'm still working for myself. I shouldn't say job, just a business where I can still be working for myself if I had to do something different. But like Sarah said, never say never. I mean, there's certain ideas that we've had where we could help consulting businesses in the social media space, which is a bit of a hybrid, but helping other businesses understand the space from a content creator perspective. I know that social media consulting just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So we're always thinking about other opportunities, but I think they would all still revolve in this space, assuming social media didn't disappear.
Yeah. Oh, so cool. So if somebody was listening to this, they are a travel lover, this would be their dream job too. If they wanted to get in this space, like how would you recommend someone get started, or where to even start?
I think the key is to start. It doesn't even matter how. We started posting
with a business plan too.
Yeah, business plan is great, but I will say our business plan that we made, like now we would probably laugh and joke at it.
We just like got our ideas down on paper.
Absolutely. You just have to put yourself out there. And one of the biggest things, and we've realized this, and also we've heard a lot of other creators say this, is that consistency is so key.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't get results right away and they give up or they find excuses. And I mean, I'm probably going to botch this quote, but it's like, you'll either find 1,000 excuses to do something or not to do something. So at the end of the day, if you really do want to do this, I would say just stay consistent and don't worry so much about the impressions and the results. We've gone through periods where our page is, maybe going through a slump, and then it tracks back again, or the algorithm changes and, You have to make changes as you go. But as long as you're just starting and you're doing something that you're passionate about, the success and the jobs and, you know, the inquiries, they do start to come in. And it now is a perfect time. Social media just seems to keep growing and growing every year. We've been doing it for a long time now. So we've seen the trajectory in terms of how much businesses are investing in it every year. And it just keeps growing and growing. And it's expected to grow even more by 2030. So now is a great time to do it. But I would just say if you're not passionate about it, it's going to be a long and tough road because it's not really easy. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes. But if you love it, then it won't feel like work.
Anything you want to add, Sarah?
No, I think that summarizes it. I think it's a really great space once you're in it. Like, you just never know what's around the corner. And every year we set these fun goals for ourselves and to watch them, all those dreams and goals come true. It's a really amazing feeling. And it can be like a very rewarding industry to get into. And like Christine said, it's only growing. So there's lots of space for people to join into it. And yeah, Christine actually like wrote ebooks on this, like Instagram growth, monetization, how to get started. And I always find that they're really good tools because it's everything that we've learned in the last 7 years into a document.
Yeah,
like,
I was just about to ask you guys. So you have ebooks available for people if they were curious about the business side of travel influencing. When did you create them? What do they look like? Where can people get them?
So I started writing them during the pandemic, actually. I still remember hanging out with my cousin at the cottage in very cold January. And we had always talked about this idea of creating digital assets, but we wanted to make sure if we were going to do that, that it was actually valuable content. And so we took a while to write them, and we actually recently updated them, did sort of like a 2.0 version because Instagram's always changing. And it was really just us realizing there's so many ins and outs to this industry, and there's not really a lot of information about it. It's not something you learn in school. Maybe it will be. I think there are actually. The space is rapidly evolving. So we wanted to come at it from a content creator perspective on this and help other people. I think we just talked to a lot of creators and ask them, what are you charging? What are your rates? Like, we had no idea. And so when we started asking people, we noticed there was a huge gap and tried to figure out a system and an approach so that content creators aren't undercharging, and just helping them understand their worth and know that this is a job. I always like to say you don't always go to a restaurant and ask for a discount on a burger. Like, the price is the price. And so, if someone's asking you to discount your rates, like, explain your worth and why you charge what you charge, and just helping through these ebooks to give people more confidence to go out there and get exactly what they deserve, but also just understand the client side of the industry, because the content creation is half of it, but also understanding how to interact with clients is a huge part of it. And so that all gets detailed in the ebooks. Then we also offer information about how to grow your Instagram account, which has changed over the years. So Reels are really big right now in terms of a way to grow on Instagram, and the importance of growing like a very strong community and focusing in on who you're talking to, focusing in on your niche. Yeah, it's really just like a one-stop shop guidebook, I would say. And then we just also recently wrote one that's just more dialed in specifically to Reels. So this ebook could also be for brands, not just content creators. So we made it a little bit more generalized because brands are also looking to grow and looking to understand how they can utilize Reels. So we created that third ebook. And we've got some great response from them. I think most notably, one of our content creator friends read one of our ebooks, and then she since quit her job and she does it full time, and she's increased her rates. And
that's awesome.
She was one of, and she sent us a really nice note just about how helpful it was. And so that was really great feedback for us, and just put us on that momentum to continue to help educate other creators and not make the same mistakes that we made. Because when we first started out, of course, no one really knows what they're doing. This industry is evolving every single day. And so we definitely made mistakes. Yeah. And we're like, let's put these out there so no one else has to do that.
That's awesome. What would you say, for both of you, what do you love most about your job?
For me, it's supporting all of the small businesses that we get to promote. I love the feeling of like hearing from them that what we've done, what we've done for our output has had like an impact on their business in a positive way through bookings, through more eyes on their brand and things like that. So it's such a good feeling to know that we have an impact for all these small businesses, not to discredit all the big ones that we work for as well. But when we get to do these tourism board jobs, we get to meet a lot of the owners of these small businesses, and they're always just so grateful. And I love learning about all their stories of how they started. And yeah, it always just like warms my heart when you get that email from them like, oh my God, we've sold out now for the next year. Or like, oh, we got
so great.
so many bookings from your promotion. And it's just, yeah, that's my favorite part about this job for me.
I love that. How about you, Christine?
Yeah, I definitely echo what Sarah says about that, just in the sense of we are very results oriented. And so we're always reaching out to see, like, did you find this successful? Like, based on your metrics for success, we were always following up and just making sure that everyone's happy with everything that we've done for them, and always trying to continue to support them wherever possible. I know some of the smaller businesses that were just starting out ended up, asking us a lot of questions about the space in general. And we're always just happy to give them ideas and tips and like, oh, you should work with this content creator. They're really great for your page, and giving them other suggestions and things like that as well.
Yeah.
So it is really nice to just have the human connection whenever possible. And I think that also it's not even just the small businesses, but it's the PR agencies and the people in the PR world that we run into and talk to and get to work with. When I say run into, like at events and things like that, we just get to meet so many people in the industry. And so it's funny because we are so like just us a lot of the time. So anytime we actually get to meet people in real life, it's always so exciting. We're like, come on, let's hang out. Let's chill by the campfire. Let's talk.
It's like our ideal day on the job is just meeting all the business owners and meeting the PR agencies. And
yeah, everyone's just honestly so fantastic. And just I think on top of that too, just I know we touched on this already, but just the fact that our job is different every day and we do get so many unique opportunities, I think that is just not normal for a lot of jobs. And so that's always just like a really exciting thing to know, like, oh, next month, we're going to be here, and here, and just getting really like hyped up and excited for all those opportunities. It's just, honestly, if I get a good sleep, I wake up in the morning just so excited to get to my desk to like get in there. Yeah. And like, I created this nice little home office space for myself. It's a little like Zen space, but yeah, whenever we're like on the road because we're driving somewhere together in Ontario or like heading to the airport, it's just always very exciting for us. It's never a dull moment. And so definitely appreciate that part of the job as well.
Yeah.
So cool.
Can be very fulfilling.
So cool. Okay. Are you guys ready for some rapid fire questions as we wrap up here?
Do it.
Maybe we'll just do Sarah first, then Christine second.
Sure.
Okay. Your favorite trip you've ever been on?
Okay, this is like I think it's the same for both of us, right? Christine, would you say Thailand?
Well, I'm just laughing because Sarah's gone on way crazier and cooler trips than me, so she has a harder time deciding.
Yeah, I always say I have a top 3, but if I was to just say one, Christine and I went to Thailand over Christmas many years ago now. I don't even remember which year that was, Christine, maybe 2018 or 2017. And we got to explore Thailand, but more specifically over New Year's Eve, we got to stay at a home, like a homestay in Doi Incheon, which is the mountains near Chiang Mai, which is in the north of Thailand. And I still see it as like one of my favorite travel experiences because we got to just see firsthand like their culture and their way of living and the beauty of their land and their daily lives. And I think we both just fell in love with that whole experience. And it was during New Year's Eve. So everyone else was like off partying and doing their thing and celebrating the New Year's. And we were like hiking through the mountains, staying at this family's house in the middle of nowhere, this beautiful Thai family. And my heart was just so full because it was just such a unique experience getting to see this whole new culture in front of our eyes. And it'll always be one of my favorite travel experiences.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And it's so interesting because that experience was a complete plan B moment where there was literally nowhere to stay in Chiang Mai. When we had gone on this trip, we didn't book everything ahead. We were kind of like, okay, we'll go with the flow. So there was definitely like parts of the trips where we hadn't booked any hotels or hostels or anything like that. And so we ran into a situation where there was legitimately nowhere to stay in the entire city. We were walking around, going to different hotels, asking if they had rooms. And someone in the hostel that we'd been staying at overheard us talking about this. And they said, "Oh, well, we have an idea for you. We just did this homestay experience. Why don't you go look into this?" And it was like this, very eco-conscious, support the local community, like all the money from it goes into the community, the Karen Village that was there. So we were thinking this was a wonderful opportunity. We didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, but we were so happy that this plan B ended up being such an incredible experience. And also just goes to show you that sometimes it's good not to overplan your trips and just let fun things happen organically. And sometimes the most magical things that happen on your trips are the things that are completely unplanned.
I love that. Okay. Cold or hot destinations?
That's so tough because I love skiing, but if I had to pick, hot. But that's because we live in Canada and it's very cold here in the winter time. So
so true.
We all need some vitamin D right about now.
Exactly. Trip you are most excited for that is upcoming?
Greece and Croatia for me. I leave in 2 weeks. And I'm getting very excited about those. I've been to Greece, but I've never been to Croatia. So that'll be a new place for me to see.
I'll just say Puerto Vallarta because it's coming up in 2 weeks and it's a personal vacation.
Oh, that's great. You guys will have the best time. I'm jealous of both of you. All right. My second last question. If listeners could take one thing away from you guys, your page, Wellness Traveled, what would you want that to be?
I guess if you have an idea or a passion, just go out and do it and try it and stay consistent because you just never know what's around the corner.
Absolutely. I know we've talked a lot from the business side of things. And so I would just, not even travel related or like to the content that we produce. I just think if you have an idea and a dream and you're unsure if you want to do it, as long as you're passionate about it and like you're ready to put in the work and like just dive into the strategy of building a business, I think that you just got to go for it. Now's the time. It's just in this day and age, everything is set up for us so that we can do things that are creative and different and make it work. So if you have that opportunity, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, oh my gosh, you guys have been so inspiring. It's so cool to hear your story. Where can people find out more about you and get connected to Wellness Traveled or the resources you shared today?
I would say a good place to start is on wellnesstraveled.com or on Instagram, of course, Wellness Traveled. And if they're interested in any of the ebooks, we have wellnesstraveledshop.com. So we can send all the links if anyone's interested in any of that stuff. And I just wanted to say to you that it's so inspiring to see you starting your podcast and just speaking to that earlier point about, starting a passion project and seeing where it can take you. I think that what you're doing is very inspiring and we're just so grateful that you chose us to be on this podcast. And we hope that it just skyrockets. We're really excited for you.
Thank you so much. No, you have both been amazing. Thank you both, Sarah and Christine, for joining the Untrivial podcast. And I feel like I just learned so much and I'm so excited to see the trips and what you guys get up to next.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. We'll see you at the cottage soon.